Introduction to Donald Messier, Donnie. Messier was a lifelong Vermont resident, deeply rooted in the community that had watched him grow up. Known for his passion for NASCAR, he was the kind of man who could often be found talking about the latest races or sporting a cap that carried the mark of his favorite drivers. Friends and family alike described him as someone who lived simply, but carried a big heart, a presence that could not be overlooked. Donnie's loved ones often recalled him as a gentle giant and a teddy bear of a man. These phrases captured his large build, but more importantly, his gentle nature and willingness to help anyone in need. He held 2 jobs, demonstrating not only his work ethic but also his commitment to providing stability for himself and for those close to him. He was, by all accounts, dependable, hardworking, and someone people could count on. At the time of his disappearance, Donnie was going through a difficult chapter in life. He had recently divorced, an event that left him struggling emotionally. Despite the challenges, family members insisted that he was showing signs of improvement, gradually lifting his spirits and looking forward with cautious optimism. Physically, Donnie was recognizable by his mustache, his goatee, and several distinctive scars. On the night he vanished, he wore jeans, a black shirt, and a jacket that reflected his casual style. He carried nicknames like Donnie, Bubba, Mule, and Huggy Bear, terms of endearment that spoke to his wide circle of friends and the closeness of his community. This portrait of Donald Messier reveals a hardworking, kind-hearted man whose sudden disappearance would become one of Vermont's enduring mysteries. The day of his disappearance. October 14, 2006. Donnie Messier began his day in a familiar routine. He worked his shift at Billings Mobile, putting in hours until 3 p.m. After leaving work, he went to his grandfather's shop, where he spent time working on a set of brakes. It was a small but ordinary task, one that reflected Donnie's practical nature and habit of lending a hand when it came to mechanical work. That evening, Donnie joined a friend to watch a NASCAR race, an activity that brought him comfort and enjoyment. Friends would later recall how much he loved those races, often following every detail with enthusiasm. The gathering was relaxed, a way for him to enjoy the sport he had always been passionate about. Later that night, Donnie drove to Waitsfield to attend a party. Witnesses reported that he was in good spirits throughout the evening. He laughed, socialized, and carried himself with the same friendly demeanor that people were accustomed to. Importantly, those who saw him stated that he was not intoxicated and showed no signs of distress. His presence was unremarkable in the sense that it appeared to be a normal night out. Between 12:30 and 2 a.m. on October 15th, Donnie was last seen leaving the party. He departed in his red 1997 Ford F-150, a distinctive truck that was well known among his circle. Witnesses confirmed he left alone, making no indication of trouble. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Donnie made his final known phone call. After that, no further communication came from him. The timeline of his last day shows nothing unusual. No warning signs that might explain why he vanished without a trace. Early concerns and the missing person report. When Donnie Messier did not return home after the weekend, his family's reaction began with patience rather than panic. His sister, Amy Currier, initially assumed there was no cause for alarm. Donnie had mentioned plans for Sunday, and Amy believed he might simply be occupied with friends or personal errands. For a man who often kept busy with work and social connections, a brief delay in returning was not immediately seen as troubling. However, concern grew sharply on Monday night, October 16th. Donnie was scheduled to work his regular shift at Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, a job he had maintained with steady reliability. When he failed to appear, it raised immediate red flags. Donnie was not known to miss work without reason, and his absence was wholly out of character. Amy and other family members attempted to reach him by phone throughout the evening. Repeated calls rang without answer before eventually going straight to voicemail. Each attempt underscored the growing fear that something had gone wrong. Donnie was a man of habits, one whose dependability was well recognized by those around him. Silence was not typical. By October 18th, 3 days after he was last seen, worry could no longer be contained. Amy and the family officially reported him missing to law enforcement. That same day, police issued a press release notifying the public about his disappearance. Both Donnie and his distinctive red 1997 Ford F-150 were unaccounted for, adding weight to the urgency of the case. The sudden and unexplained break in Donnie's routine struck his family as deeply unusual. What began as mild concern quickly escalated into fear as each day passed without word, marking the beginning of a search that would soon dominate their lives. The search efforts, in the days following the missing person report, police and family members launched extensive search efforts to locate Donnie Messier. Authorities quickly recognized that both a man of Donnie's size and his large distinctive vehicle should have been relatively easy to spot. His red 1997 Ford F-150 carried NASCAR stickers and noticeable features that made it stand out on Vermont roads. With both missing, investigators called for the public's assistance, asking anyone who might have seen the truck to come forward. Vermont State Police organized ground and water searches. The Waterbury Reservoir was combed for signs of the vehicle, while quarries and bar were carefully examined as possible dumping sites. Despite these concentrated efforts, no trace of Donnie or his truck emerged. The searches brought a heavy presence of law enforcement, divers, and equipment, but each sweep came back empty. To broaden awareness, the family and police distributed flyers across surrounding towns. Posters detailed Donnie's physical description and the truck's distinctive markings. The message urged the community to remain vigilant for any sign that could break open the case. Residents were encouraged to look closely at rural roads, wooded areas, and waterways where a vehicle might be hidden. Investigators also turned to financial and digital records, monitoring Donnie's credit cards, bank accounts, and cell phone activity. Nothing showed unusual movement. All activity ceased after October 15th, further intensifying the mystery. It was as if Donnie had simply vanished in the early hours of that morning, leaving behind no digital footprint and no trail for searchers to follow. As days turned into weeks, frustration grew. The absence of both Donnie and his truck baffled investigators and devastated his family. A deep sense of mystery set in early, defining the case from the very beginning. Theories and rumors, in the absence of clear evidence, investigators considered several possible explanations for Donnie Messier's disappearance. Early in the case, police leaned toward two primary theories. The first was suicide, though no evidence supported the idea that Donnie had taken his own life. Friends and family emphasized he had been improving emotionally, making this explanation difficult to reconcile. The second theory involved an accident, with investigators suggesting Donnie may have swerved off a rural road during the late hours of October 15th. Yet, extensive searches of nearby reservoirs, quarries, and wooded areas yielded nothing, leaving the theory without physical confirmation. Complicating matters further was the absence of Donnie's red Ford F-150. Man of his size and a vehicle with distinctive NASCAR stickers should have been discovered if an accident had occurred. The missing truck became a central detail that neither accident nor suicide theories could account for, leaving both explanations incomplete. Over the years, rumors circulated about the Waitsfield party Donnie attended that night. Some whispered about possible altercations or disputes that may have escalated. Others raised the possibility of drug activity, which could have entangled him in a situation that turned dangerous. Donnie's close friend Chris publicly suggested that Donnie may have been caught in circumstances beyond his control, hinting at foul play rather than misadventure. Suspicion also grew within the community due to the silence surrounding the party. Attendees reportedly avoided discussing the events of that night and showed little willingness to participate in search efforts. This reluctance deepened speculation that something had happened there, though no one came forward with verifiable information. More troubling rumors suggested Donnie was killed, his body destroyed, and his truck deliberately hidden. These darker theories, though unproven, became part of the case's enduring mystery. Years without answers, 2006-2021. For more than 15 years, the disappearance of Donnie Messier remained an open wound in Vermont. From the fall of 2006 onward, tips trickled in but never developed into credible leads. Each new call to law enforcement carried a moment of hope, only to end with the same frustrating result. No verifiable evidence and no progress. The Vermont landscape itself posed a significant challenge. Dense forests, quarries, reservoirs, and backroads were searched repeatedly by police and volunteers. Despite exhaustive sweeps, no sign of Donnie or his distinctive red Ford F-150 surfaced. Search teams returned to suspected areas year after year, yet every effort ended with the same haunting void. The absence of physical evidence only deepened the mystery, making investigators question whether Donnie's truck had been deliberately concealed or removed altogether. Natural events further complicated the search. In 2011, Hurricane Irene swept through Vermont, flooding rivers, washing out roads, and reshaping large portions of the terrain. For Donnie's family, the storm brought a grim possibility that any trace of him or his truck may have been hidden or destroyed by nature's force. Yet even after Irene, renewed searches failed to uncover a single clue. Throughout these years, the Vermont State Police kept Donnie's file classified as an active missing persons case. Detectives emphasized that they had not given up, though they acknowledged the investigation lacked solid evidence to move forward. The file remained open but stagnant, a reminder of the unanswered questions that define the case. For Donnie's family, the passing years meant living in a painful limbo. They balanced fragile hope against a growing sense of despair, while rumors and theories continued to swirl in the community, never bringing resolution but keeping suspicion alive. Adventures with Purpose and Renewed Searches, 2021-2022. In October 2021, nearly 15 years after Donnie Messier vanished, a new chapter in the investigation began. Adventures with Purpose, a volunteer dive team known for solving cold cases, traveled to Vermont to aid in the search. Their reputation had grown nationally, and families across the country turned to them for answers when official investigations had gone silent. In Vermont, they focused first on the Waterbury Reservoir, a location long rumored to hold secrets about Donnie's disappearance. Divers carefully scanned the waters, using sonar and specialized equipment, but the effort ended with disappointment. The only discovery was an old boat, rusting at the bottom, far removed from the mystery surrounding Donnie's case. 1 year later, in October 2022, the team returned with renewed determination. This time, their search led them to the Winooski River in Duxbury, an area less than 10 miles from where Donnie had last been seen. As their sonar equipment swept across the dark water, it revealed the unmistakable outline of a submerged vehicle. Divers entered the current and worked carefully to confirm what they had found. When the license plate came into view, the truth struck. It was Donnie's missing red Ford F-150, a vehicle that had eluded discovery for nearly 16 years. The recovery, however, offered only partial answers. Inside the truck, no human remains were located. Instead, personal belongings tied directly to Donnie were recovered. His watch, a jacket, and a pair of glasses surfaced from the vehicle, silent reminders of his presence. For investigators and family alike, the absence of remains reopened questions rather than resolving them. The search did not end with the truck. Volunteers combing the surrounding areas along the river discovered additional items downstream. These included pieces of clothing, compact discs, scattered bones whose origins remain unconfirmed, and even a rifle. Each new item deepened the sense of unease, suggesting both connection and contradiction to Donnie's disappearance. After the discoveries, the Vermont State Police quickly assumed control of the investigation. They secured the items, processed the vehicle, and attempted to piece together how Donnie's truck ended up in the river for so many years without detection. Yet despite the breakthrough, the discovery left an unsettling conclusion. Instead of clarity, more mysteries lingered, reminding everyone that answers in the case of Donnie Messier remained frustratingly out of reach. Where the case stands today, the discovery of Donnie Messier's Ford F-150 in the Winooski River marked a significant turning point, yet it failed to deliver the resolution so many had hoped for. Investigators recovered the vehicle, along with personal belongings, but could not determine whether Donnie himself was inside when it entered the water. The absence of human remains left crucial questions unanswered, and no definitive timeline could be reconstructed from what was found. For Donnie's family, the discovery brought mixed emotions. On one hand, it offered validation that his disappearance had not been forgotten and that progress, however small, was possible. On the other hand, it deepened the uncertainty. Without knowing how the truck entered the river or whether Donnie was behind the wheel, closure remained painfully out of reach. Family members have spoken about living in a state of limbo, torn between holding on to hope and confronting the possibility of loss. Law enforcement continues to treat the case as active. The Vermont State Police maintain Donnie's file and still encourage the public to share tips that might shed light on his fate. Yet the theories, whether foul play, accident, or suicide, remain inconclusive. Each carries its own set of contradictions, and none fully explain the circumstances surrounding Donnie's disappearance. Despite years of speculation, one fact remains constant. Donnie's loved ones remember him as a kind-hearted and genuine man whose absence has left an irreplaceable void. To them, the search for answers is not about speculation but about truth and justice. The recovery of the truck solved one part of the puzzle, but the greater mystery endures. Donald Messier's disappearance remains unsolved, a haunting reminder that even with new discoveries, some questions refuse to yield clear answers.